How do men see sex? What is sex to men? Because I say this all the time. Like, I have been blessed to have an older brother, the homeboys. I've had these conversations with several men. A lot of women have not had this conversation with a man or heard a man having this conversation. So from a man, how do men view sex?
All right, now real quick, I'm just going to say that there's always exceptions to the rule.
Go ahead. Go ahead and throw out the disclaimer.
And some men are going to see things differently. I think for the majority of men, sex is just viewed as a pleasurable experience. That's it, a pleasurable physical experience. There may be some emotion a little bit in that moment, but it stays in that moment for the most part. It's just not much more than that for the guy. You know, now don't get me wrong. And when I say there's emotion involved, I think when he actually likes the woman, he's in love with her, then it becomes something more than just a physical experience, a chance to bond with her, get closer to her. But outside of that, yeah, it's just physical pleasure.
Do men have sex with women they don't like?
Hell yeah.
Look into that camera. Look into that camera and say,
yeah.
Why? Why, Stephan?
Oh my
why?
God. Not only do men, now again, not all men, but not only do men have sex with women they don't like, there are tons of men who have sex with women they're not even attracted to.
So again, this is the men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing, because speaking for the majority of women, I can't even fathom a man on top of me that I don't like, I'm not interested in, I'm not attracted to. Like that, why would I do that? You all are totally...
Well, so
their heads are exploding right now, Stephan. Their heads are exploding.
So now, again, I'm one of those guys where I cannot sleep with someone I'm not attracted to. I'm very visual. I need that stimulation.
Thank
if that's
God, you
not
got some
there,
standards. Okay.
you know, I can't do it. But I know dudes
that have none.
As long as you got legs and something in between, it's a wrap. Okay. And they will have sex out of the mere convenience of it in that moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because again, it is simply a pleasurable physical experience. They're viewing that woman as a chance to get off. That's it. That's all it is. And so, yeah, and as far as not liking her, because the reality is that he only has to tolerate her for that moment in time. This is why he may have sex with you, but he won't be in a relationship with you.
He won't even pick up the phone the next day, baby.
He can't deal with you more than just that moment. But to engage physically, and again, in that physical moment, he doesn't have to worry about having talks with you and all this other stuff. So yeah, he can still enjoy you physically, but not care for you otherwise.
So we're going to pause. It's a moment of silence for y'all feelings and your edges. Okay.
Oh, boy.
But I think, though, that, again, that's a major disconnect because women a lot of times mistake men wanting to sleep with them with men wanting to date them or court them or be in a relationship. And so I hear, shout out to Kevin Samuels, all right? Kevin said, one of the things that Kevin Samuels says often that I do agree with, though, is that you cannot count the number of men who have tried to holler at you or try to have sex with you as the number of men who are interested in getting into a relationship with you. And so I think a lot of times women are mistaking one for the other and thinking, well, men are interested in me. You know, I am a catch. And just because men are interested in sleeping with you does not mean that you are necessarily what men are looking for when it comes to a relationship.
Or
so
marriage.
What's the difference? What would make a man say, okay, I'll have sex with you, but that's as far as it'll go?
So, okay, there's various levels to it. For some men, it could be levels of physical attraction. So to put it in a more specific context so people can understand, if his standard for marriage is, I'm only going to marry a woman who's an 8 to 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, but he'll sleep with a 6. He'll sleep with a 5. You see what I'm saying? So there's enough, and maybe she's not that cute, but her body's banging. So he'll sleep with her because he really likes her body. He wants to try it out. I know that sounds horrible, but I'm just,
that's a real
it is
thing.
what it is.
Let me put that in my notes because we gotta come back to that.
Right? But again, he's not attracted to her enough physically to say, I want to spend my life with her. Because again, it's one thing to have to see you for the night. It's nothing to have to wake up and see you every day next to me. That requires a different level of attraction. Then, of course, there's just the qualities of a wife. Some women, again, may be really cool. And you may even enjoy hanging out with them, but you know you cannot deal with them over the long term as far as marriage. And let me say this. The reality is that women see the same issue or go through the same thing with men. It's just that women are willing to overlook those red flags and still marry that man. Yeah. But then be miserable and unhappy. The man knows, like in a lot, don't get me wrong, plenty of men choose horribly wives and partners. But a lot, like I remember one time in an Uber, a guy said to me, he was the driver, he said, you hear in society, women are always being told the fantasy of the one, waiting for that right guy, all that stuff. But what you see play out in dating and relationships is that men tend to hold on to that principle more than women. All right? Women know of the one connection, but the minute they see something that they want, for whatever reason, yes, I will make this work because this is what I desire right now. Whereas men, if they're just not feeling it enough, they're just not going to do it. And that's why I tell women, it's not a reflection of your value or your quality. Y'all two just don't fit together. He can really see or view you as a good woman, just not for him.
So this is not a question that was on my list, but I just feel like because you're hurting feelings and snatching edges, we might as well just snatch the whole wig off. Because I have literally had a conversation with a man. I hope he's not tuned in. It's not my man, y'all. A man, not my man. But I've had a conversation with a man who has, going back to like the 90-day rule thing and men trying to fit into women thinking that they're being in control and, controlling how things are going, but men really having the big joker, like really, pulling the trump card. But I was having a conversation with a man who talked about a woman who had like a 90-day rule and she had verbalized it. Big mistake. So she talked to him about it. She's holding him to this standard and he literally told me, like, yeah, I just did what I had to do to get to the 90 days, just basically to get her back for playing games with him. Playing games with him. Like, he did all of the right things. Told me this out of his mouth, that he did all of the right things, had these conversations, like took her out, did all of the things to play the game. So what is your advice for women who are watching for the red flags, asking the questions, like thinking that they're doing their due diligence, and then they're just dealing with like a fraud?
So I'm very skeptical of any situation that proclaims that this man just fooled you the entire time. I always say a lot of times women don't get played, they play themselves. All right?
Girl, stop playing.
They see something. They pick up, and even if you can't say you saw something specific, they sense, yes, they felt like something's not right. But again, they try to ignore it. So to me, you've got to be strong as a woman in the sense of accepting your intuition. Stop denying it. Stop running from it. And if you're spiritual, you've got to go to God and pray about the situation and asking God, not just looking for signs, hearing it in your spirit, like, this is what I need to do right now. Because again, I don't think anyone's that good of a liar. I think that you let someone talk enough, they're going to expose themselves. You just have to know how to keep them talking. And so that requires conversations, asking questions, diving deeper, because it's very easy for people to either, when they give you a BS answer, you can sense it, or they just dance around the situation or dismiss it altogether. You know what I'm saying? So, and then there's just certain questions that men will and women will expose themselves on. Like if you ask a dude questions about handling finances in a relationship, he's very likely to tell you straight up what it is. So if you don't like the way that he does things, you don't have to keep guessing. You know what I'm saying? But you just have to have those conversations. But we tend, when I say we, society tends to be scared to dive deeper early on. It's like, well, I don't want to run this person away. Yeah, but it's like, yo, if they run away because you're diving deeper, they're not for you.
Exactly.
That's the way you weed them out.
Yep. And that was literally a question that I have here, because women do have such a hard time asking questions because they don't want to be annoying. They don't want to push too much. They don't want to turn you off. So how do you toe the line between being interested and being inquisitive and digging deep, but not like being annoying?
Again, annoying is a perception based off of likability. Basically meaning, let's look at it from a woman's perspective. If 10 guys DM a woman right now, hey, you're beautiful, right? And you look at them dudes and all 10, they don't like them. So to you, they're annoying, they're thirsty, whatever. Mr. 11 says the same thing. Hey, beautiful. But you like this dude and now you're flattered. This is cute. It's not the action. It's how much you like them, and as well when it comes to women, it's the energy that you're giving off when you're asking these questions.
That's true.
If you're asking with an energy of interrogation, of being hard and having an attitude, and And that can happen when you ask the question because you're expecting a negative answer. You can't go into the conversation expecting something bad. You have to go in, believe either clean slate or believing something positive, but prepared for something negative. You see what I'm saying? Because when you prepare for negative, you project that. And that's the energy that's making you come off annoying or what's wrong with her? Nah, she got problems and now I don't want to deal with her no more.
So what are some of those red flags that women can be showing that they might not recognize, or that you don't know that you're presenting? Like, I might talk too much, but I don't know that I talk too much. I might say the wrong things. Maybe I'm not talking too much, but I'm telling everybody all my business on the first date. Like, what are some of the, give us the game. Like, how can they get past, we sick of these first dates, Stephan. We got to get past number one.
Again, I think, remember, like somebody once said, rules are for people you don't like. So basically, when we like the person enough, we're way more flexible. So again, we have to understand that some of this is just based on the fact that it just wasn't clicking like that. There's no way around it. You can't force anything to happen. But one thing that popped in my head when you were asking that was, and I will say this, I think the average man doesn't even pay attention to this. I pay attention to this, and I still think it's something that women should be mindful of, is when he is talking, are you jumping in before he even finishes? Are you over talking him? Now, people will say, well, I'm getting excited. I don't mean to cut him. No, but it shows you're not presently listening. And if I'm talking to men, I'm telling them that's a red flag they need to be mindful of. Because now what's going to happen is, as you go further in that relationship and y'all having discussions, she don't listen no more. She always overtalks you, always jumps in, cuts you off, and that's going to cause a problem. And so now...
I wanted to say something, but I was holding it in.
and that's where a lot of things go wrong, because then what happens is, and it's a crazy thing, because so the woman kind of dominates the conversation in that way, jumping in, cutting them off. And a lot of men, instead of correcting that situation with her, letting her know this is not acceptable, they cower to it. And now they end up becoming more silent. But then that only pisses her off even more, because now you're not talking. Why aren't you opening up? So it just creates a snowball effect of negative problems, and it's like, it's just not worth it. So it needs to be nipped in the bud as early as possible. And of course, that goes for both sides. Both people need to learn to listen when the person is talking. Let them finish, then make your statement.
So with that being said, do you recommend therapy for any relationship, for relationships that are moving towards marriage? Do you not recommend therapy? Like, what role do you think therapy plays in a relationship?
Absolutely. Everyone should be doing therapy. I don't care if you're single, dating, married. Like, I hate the idea that people think, well, why should we go to couples therapy if we're just in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship? Well,
because you want to be more than that.
Exactly. And even if you don't want to be more than that, it's to help you have a healthier dynamic. So one way or another, if you're going to remain in this situation and there are problems and you guys have not been able to resolve those problems amongst each other, then go to a third party. There's no reason why you shouldn't. So I definitely think, and especially before you get married.
Especially.
Like, that to me is a huge mistake when people don't do marriage counseling before they get premarital counseling.
So do you think it should be a deal breaker if you bring up the suggestion to go to therapy or counseling or whatever and your partner isn't prepared?
If I'm honest, hell yeah, it should be a deal breaker.
Please
Only
be
because my thing is, if you are unwilling to seek help to rectify things now, what are we setting ourselves up for later? Or because we can't always do this ourselves. We're gonna need help sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's just a really big problem. And I think if someone knows that by not going, I will lose this relationship, and they're still unwilling to go, they
that should tell you something.
Exactly.
Right?
That's enough right there.
So there's this thought around dating someone's potential. And I have my own thoughts about dating potential, and my theory kind of got skewed with like Michelle Obama, because it's like, how can you argue with this? Like, how can you argue? And Michelle, it worked out for her, right? What is your advice for a woman who comes to you and she says, she describes this man and she says she's dating his potential, like she sees what he can become? I don't necessarily think it's a cookie cutter answer, but what's your perspective on it?
I say hell no.
Okay,
it should
that's a
not
cookie
be
cutter.
done. Yeah, it's cookie cutter. And let me use the whole Obama situation. There are people right now who invested in the lotto every week to try to win, and eventually won. that doesn't make it a good investment strategy. All right? Just because one or two people have, and not just one or two people, just because a small segment of people, because there's always exceptions to every rule, have success, that doesn't make it the wise choice. So yes, Obama, she got lucky or she was fortunate, whatever the case may be. But for every one case of success, I got 1,000 more of complete failure and destruction. All right. So to me, it is extremely dangerous because you have to ask yourself, if this person does not get better from here, will I be happy? There has to be a foundation. It doesn't mean we don't strive to continuously be better, but do they have a strong enough foundation that I can be happy with? Because you're not guaranteed change will come. All right. And unfortunately, the potential you see, they may not see in themselves. So it's like you're trying to drag them to a place that it's not in their heart to go to. It's almost like you'll have these scenarios where, let's say a guy is a plumber and he's making 60 grand and the woman gets with him, but she wants a 6-figure man. But she says, he has potential. He could own his own plumbing business. But that joker don't want to own a business, all right? Everybody's not built for that. They're not wired for that. He is happy and content making $60,000, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. That's his thing. That's his thing. Exactly. If you now try to make him be more than that, he will start to resent you.
Facts.
And you will resent him if he's not moving his feet fast enough. So now y'all arguing about stuff because you're trying to make something to happen that never existed here. There was never real potential here. It's what you want to believe. And so potential sometimes is an imaginary perception.
Say that one more time.
Potential sometimes is an imaginary perception.
So what do you think about the idea of like dating, being equally yoked, dating down? There's a concept of like the high value man. Everybody wants the high value man, the 6-figure earner, everybody wants that, but everybody is not necessarily qualified for that. Like you're not a match to that. And so you get frustrated because you're not getting what you want, but what you want is not necessarily in alignment with who you are. My opinion. What is your opinion on dating? I don't want to say dating down, but dating a person that's in alignment with where you are currently versus where you might see yourself. Because maybe you're not where you want to be, but you want to date somebody that's already there. Yeah.
So I think, one, let me say, I'm not a fan of dating down in that way. To me, it's all about connection. If there's a connection with someone who other people perceive as lower status than you or whatever, I don't care about what they perceive. I don't even care if you've been brainwashed to see it that way. If there's a connection, you should embrace it. If there's not, you should walk away. But I think the way people need to look at it, I'll give an analogy. There's tons of people who want to have a G-Wagon, right? And when they dream about having a G-Wagon, they're only thinking about the luxury of having it, the enjoyment of having this nice car. But what you don't realize is when you go to buy it, that payment's gonna be serious. That maintenance is gonna be serious. There's a level of stress that might come with this car. So you have to ask yourself, am I willing to do the things that it takes to even maintain this? All right. Now, if you get to the dealership and you realize this G-Wagon is too much for me, all right? And now you find you a nice Honda, all right, that drives what you need to do, and you're happy in your Honda. To me, you didn't date down. You didn't downgrade in your car. You found what was best for you.
Yep.
What works for you. There's this middle ground of where I can be happy with what I'm receiving, and I'm happy with what I have to give in return. You see, a lot of women, when they think about quote unquote high value men, they're only thinking about what I'm going to receive. They're not considering what I'm going to have to give.
A whole lot.
Exactly. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't want to give all that. So let me go be with a man who's in that range that I can have that trade-off that I'm happy with.
And two, having a type. How has, in your experience with women, how has their type been either helping their situation or hurting them being able to find who they're looking for?
So I want to put it like this. I think there's nothing wrong with having a type in regards to what you're attracted to is what you're attracted to. I think it's problematic when it's like...
Is that true? What you're attracted to is what you're attracted to?
Yeah, I do think.
Like physically or just period overall?
I think in a lot of different ways. It could be physically, it could be emotionally. There's various things that you're going to be attracted. So for example, me as a man, so I think, one, we have to understand that I believe we all have internal wiring. Like some people think you live life and you become who you want to be. No, I believe you are who you are from day one. You have to live life to figure it out and then live that to the best of your ability. So what I've come across is like, there are some women out there who like a lavish lifestyle, all right? Love taking care of themselves, getting their hair done, nails done. They love that. And there's some women who don't want to deal with that at all, all right? Now, I'm attracted to the women that like taking care of themselves, that like that lifestyle. So to me, there's not going to be an attraction to, there might be a physical attraction to that woman who doesn't like doing those things, but can we sustain that over the long run? That's the problem. So let's flip it. If you're a woman who likes to live a nice lifestyle and you compromise and say, I'm going to get with this frugal man. Like I knew a couple who the woman likes nice things, and the man was one of those dudes, if he found a couch on the corner, he dust it off, take it home, we got a new couch.
Not going to work.
All right?
Not going to work.
And over time, it would piss her off. And now you being pissed off turns into you don't want to sleep with him right now because you're annoyed. That turns into him having an attitude. You see, and again, it's a snowball effect. We overlook these small things that we don't fit in, and we don't realize how that turns into the big issue later. So to me, going back to the whole attraction thing, I do think there's certain types of people, there may be certain physical attributes that people are naturally attracted to. But where the type comes into a play where it's a problem is when you hold so strong to it, you ignore the fact that sometimes we're attracted to people who didn't fit our type. All right. You have to be flexible in that way. You can have your type, but understand it may not always play out that exact way. So as a man may love tall women, right? But if he comes across a short woman that he's drawn to, has a connection, everything's great, it would be foolish to overlook her because, well, she's not my type. You see what I'm saying?
I think for women, though, the type thing comes down to more than physical.
Oh, absolutely.
Only because I think for a lot of women end up in this revolving door when it comes to relationships where it's a new man, but the same situation over and over because of their type. Not they look alike, but it's the type of, the way that he picked you up, what he said to you, the type of conversation he has, that type. And that is what gets us into trouble a lot of times because that type is usually based on the butterflies, like the bad boy thing. That is what is fun and exciting, not the bugaboo, not the one that's saying, the nice, sweet
Well, you know what?
thing.
So I actually was speaking to somebody in my DM, actually.
It's going down in the DMs?
Public figure needed some help. And we had this conversation because she actually recently left a really good guy because she typically likes a bad boy, whatever. And I explained to her, I think society mislabels what's really going on here. The issue isn't that women like bad boys or men who treat them poorly. They like masculine men. All right? Plain and simple. If you are a man who can be loving, respectful, nice, all that stuff, but still be masculine, you're going to get women left and right. They're going to still love you. All right? Are there some women who may have this, let's say she just likes a hood dude and he has to be a hood dude. But listen, I've met women who she may have dated hood dudes her whole life, but if she meets a dude who has that masculine energy and doesn't look exactly like the hood, she's still drawn to that man. I think it's the masculine energy. So what women have to understand is and that's why you have to be flexible and realize it's not the type, it's the energy, it's the attraction, it's those fundamental things that you have to now evaluate because there are tons of good masculine men. You don't have to have the dude who treats you like crap to have a masculine man. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same way women will say, oh, well, men just want hoes. Ain't no man waking up saying, I can't wait to marry a hoe. Like, that's not what the man thought.
Y'all are smashing them down.
Yeah, smashing and marrying is two different things. But the point is he attracted to hoes or is he attracted to women that present themselves in a way physically that he's drawn to? Is he attracted to women who like to look good? Is he attracted to women who have nice bodies? Because if he's just attracted to hoes, then you can find you an unattractive hoe and he would still want her. But that's not what happens. He's only going after attractive women that look a certain way. So it's not really about her being a hoe. But what happens is, again, the side who loses in that situation loves to mislabel the issue. So the man will say, women just want a bad boy rather than accepting, nah, bruh, you're not masculine enough. You have to work on that. Women, he just wants hoes. No, you're not presenting yourself properly. You're not being effective in how you exude your energy. That's the reality of it.
I waited. I didn't want to cut you off.
I appreciate
when I get
that.
home, my man gonna be like, see how he got you together? Yeah, I'm sorry, baby. I'm working on that. So you just brought up something that reminded me. Y'all, when, I don't think this was the first time. We went and grabbed lunch years and years ago, Stephan. And Stephan does this thing where if you ever, like, sit down with a therapist, they start therapeuting you. So he's like, yo, your hard exterior, you all business, you making this face. And he was literally like breaking down to me what men see when they sit down with me, which was a benefit. I ain't really like how he did it, but it was helpful, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of women, we are buttoned up, business minded, boss energy, and that is not attractive to most men.
Exactly.
How do we break down that tough exterior, not to the point where we have to be someone that we're not, but how do we navigate, being who we are, but then being who a man appreciates a woman to be?
Okay. So first thing, let's clarify. It's not attracted to the men that women actually want and like.
Right.
Because what I always find is that boss woman, that masculine woman, she's getting dudes who want her. She's just not getting the one she wants to want her. That's the disconnect. So yes, going back to your question, it's about understanding that, one, how we perceive ourselves isn't always how others perceive us. So I always encourage women, like I have a membership group and I tell them, like, listen, ask men how they see you. Don't let your girlfriends tell you, because they're going to validate things. Because if they're negative too, they're not going to call you out for being negative.
Or recognize it.
Exactly. It's almost like, think about a morbidly obese person. They're not going to call out another morbidly obese person and say you need to lose some weight.
Right.
What's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna validate that whole thing because they're walking in it too. So women have to be mindful of that yes, how you're coming off is going to have a huge role in how people receive you. And the pushback I get is, well, I am feminine. When I'm in a relationship, I'm sweet, I'm submissive, I'm this, I'm that. And I'm like, yeah, but how would he know that?
You got to get there.
Exactly. You're not exuding that energy that lets him see that you have even that, I hate to use the word potential, but in essence, that's what it is in some cases. Or it's just you are that feminine woman. And so a lot of women think, well, he should take time to figure it out. Ain't nobody got time for that. Especially, again, this is where we're going into the type of man you want. You want some successful, well put together man. He don't have time to be surveying the situation and digging deep into every woman who catches his eye. Do you know how time consuming that is? And one of the analogies I love to use, because I even use this analogy in regards to why people should be using physical attraction as a evaluator for relationships. And I'm like, if you had Walmart hiring for cashier, paying minimum wage, and they only got 5 applicants coming to them, they got time to sit down with every applicant, dig deep, and figure out who they want to hire. If you're Google and you're hiring a position making 6, 7 figures, you got thousands of people submitting their resume. You ain't got time to evaluate and interview everyone. So what do? You start to weed them out. How do companies weed them out? Well, back in the days, it was, if your resume don't even look right, forget what's on it. If the paper's wrong, if the color's wrong, if the texture is bad, in the garbage. You could have been an amazing candidate. You won't make it to the next stage.
Make the cut.
So you got to understand that when you're trying to date in that pool of men, and in general, it would be beneficial to be mindful of, what are you exuding that allows you to attract those kind of people, and for them to see that you can be the woman that they would want to entertain?
So what are some of these feminine things? Because it's hard out here, Stephan. Listen, I'm really loving that social media has this whole like soft woman thing, like this whole soft woman movement. I am loving it because I'm tired of working hard. But most Black women were raised to believe that we had to work hard. Like if we're not working hard, if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we are not independent, if we can't do it all and handle it all and be strong, then we're not doing it right. So now we're 30 plus and the men are like, yo, you too hard. And it's like, this is who I am. So what are some things that we can start to do? You know, maybe wear pink or, you know, wear some softer colors. I think we talked about that. See, I was listening. He was like, yo, you showing up with all this black. I got my man with my black on though, y'all. So we don't know about that rule. But I do remember you saying it. But what else can we do?
Exceptions to every rule.
Exceptions to every rule. Those things do matter though.
Yes, but so the first step is though, stop saying this is who I am. It's not who you are. It's who you have become because you've been conditioned to believing this is what it should be. You become comfortable in your masculine energy and detached from your femininity. But the reality is that that feminine energy is still in you, which is again why when you're in a relationship or when you're emotionally vulnerable, it comes out.
Yeah.
Or even better, some of these same women who are so hard, put them around kids and they're joyful, they're sweet or whatever. Put them around a man, they shut the whole thing down. No more feminine energy. So the reality is that it's not that you're not feminine.
Okay.
It's that you don't view the child as a threat.
Right.
All right. You view men as a threat. And because of that, you become defensive around men, but you're not guarded around children. That same energy that you give kids, give that to a man, see what happens. I remember one time I had a client. So I think she came to an event and I had that whole speech about feminine energy, and she came to me afterward and she said, she was dating this guy. Her son, who was like 22 in college, comes home for the weekend, and she said the whole weekend she's serving him, calling, baby, what you need, boom, boom, boom. The child leaves, go back to school. The boyfriend looks at her and say, why you never talk to me like that? You talk to him with all this great, I don't ever get none of that. And that's when she realized, damn, I'm really giving them that hard energy. You have it. You just have issues stopping you from giving it to the man.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Texting is not courting. Let me repeat that. Texting is not courting. I feel the need to start off by saying that simply because I think that in today's world, we've allowed text to consume our